Hey guys, it's Nicole. I'm back with another video, and this video is going to be about a book. So I am continuing on with my collection of books that I liked but didn't love. And there's nothing wrong with these books. Like, objectively, this is strictly my opinion. And I don't know, maybe if you've read the books or intend to read the books, maybe you'll agree with me. I don't know. We'll see. But I like doing this series because I like to make it clear that I do have different opinions on books, and I am reading a lot these days. I have a goal of this year to read, I think I like 36 books. Yeah, I have it in my Goodreads profile, if you want to go check that out. And I'm already over halfway through my challenge for this year, so I've been reading a lot, and I'm probably gonna make a video eventually about every single book I've read, but for now I'm just gonna talk about some of the books that stuck out to me because I liked them for some reason, but I didn't love them for some reason. So this one, this book I read recently, and I have mixed feelings, kind of like I've mentioned. So this video is going to be about this book called The Little Shop of Found Things by Paula Braxton. And it's good. Don't get me wrong, like I really did have a fun time reading this book, but at the same time I kept getting frustrated. So there were some times where I had to like really push through to continue reading this book. So first things first, obviously I picked this up because I love the title and the cover. The cover, it has like the greenery here, and it's an antique store, you can tell, which I love antique stores. I love all that kinds of stuff. I think it comes with good stories like this, The Little Shop of Found Things. I love that stuff because every object has a story, even if it's not interesting. It does have a story, a connection to a person, multiple people, and I find that stuff really cool. So I was like, this book already looks like something I would be interested in. And The Little Shop of Found Things, the title of itself it's just cute, it's like, it's a little shop, it's of found things. Like, I thought it was a cute title, and it sounded really intriguing to me. So I'll go ahead and read the back because obviously that was what fully sealed the deal into why I wanted to read this book. So the back of the book: Xanth and her mother Flora leave London behind for a fresh start, taking over an antique shop in the historic town of Marlborough. This is in England, obviously. Xanth has an affinity with some of the antiques she finds. While she touches them, she can sense something of their past and the stories they hold. When she has an intense connection to a beautiful silver chatelaine, she has to know more. There we go. For some reason, brain completely flew away for the second. She has to know more. It is while she's examining the chatelaine that she's transported back to the 17th century, the time of its origin. She discovers there we go. I am just brain farting today, excuse me. So, it is while she's examining the chatelaine that she's transported back to the 17th century, the time of its origin. She discovers there is an injustice in its history. The spirit that inhabits her new home confronts her and charges her with saving her daughter's life, the ghost's life, threatening to take Flora's if she fails. While Xanth fights to save the girl amid the turbulent days of 1605, she meets architect Samuel Appleby. He may be the person who can help her succeed. He may also be the reason she can't bring herself to return to the present. And that's basically it. It kind of just goes into this is a New York bestselling author, that kind of thing. So yeah, sounded interesting to me. I love that kind of stuff. This is obviously kind of like a fantasy genre where someone has magical powers and they can sense, events and objects and feelings, all associated with an object and a person. And I thought that was really cool. And so I was very excited to read this. And I don't hate this book. I really, really don't. The time traveling aspect of the book is a little funky, but it's easy to forgive because it's kind of in a fantasy genre. Like, it's not... From the back of the book, you can kind of gather this is not science fiction. This is not derived in any way from real technology or could be real technology. So when you look at it from the aspect of this is fantasy, completely made up, magical powers, things just happen magically, it's easy to forgive some of the other smaller things, right? That maybe don't necessarily feel 100% accurate. But there's a couple other things in the book that just like really frustrated me, and some of it has to do with the person on the back that they bring up, Samuel Appleby, who's from the past and who prevents her from coming back to the present, you know, that kind of thing. And I don't want to reveal it really because I feel like it'll be spoilers. So I don't know for sure. I'm definitely going to reveal it in the next part of, like, the second part of the video, because I will talk about that and I will say that these are spoilers. But I don't want to like say anything and like reveal it too much in case someone doesn't want spoilers who's just kind of looking for my opinion on the book. So I am going to go ahead and read the first page of the book out loud so that you can kind of gauge and see what you think of how the book sounds. Again, I really had a fun time reading this book, and I think a lot of people would like it. So let's read the first page and you can see what you think for yourself of how it sounds to you. It is a commonly held belief that the most likely place to find a ghost is beneath a shadowy moon, among the ruins of a castle, or perhaps in an abandoned house where the living have fled, leaving only spirits to drift from room to room. To believe so is to acknowledge but half a truth. For there is a connection with those who passed over to be found much nearer home. Every soul that once trod this brutal earth leaves their imprint upon the things that mattered to them, the things that they held, the things that once echoed to the beat of their hearts. That heartbeat may yet be felt, faint but clear, transmitted through the fabric of those belongings, linking us to the dear one long gone. Okay, I get it now. I was like, what? Again, my brain is farting. There's like noises going on in the background. I live with other people, so I just can't help this. That heartbeat may yet be felt, faint but clear, transmitted through the fabric of those belongings, linking us to the dear one long gone through however many years have passed. Or at least, some may feel it. Some can hear its fluttering rhythm. Some can sense the life force that once thrummed through the golden nettle, or a gorgeous gem, or even the tattered remnant of a wedding gown. Some have the ability, the sensitivity, the gift to be able to connect to those lost ones through these precious objects. Xanth Westlake was such a person. The tall young woman with the tumble of golden curls falling about her shoulders was possessed of that special gift. She had been barely 8 years old when it first had shown itself. And there's another sentence, but it continues on to the next page, and I'm not going to go into that because then we're basically reading the whole book, and that's not what this video is. So, yeah, that first page kind of describes how the book is going to go. It does sound a lot like that. There's a lot of lists, a lot of describing, a lot of metaphors, a lot of, yes, these are all the kinds of things that can hold feelings of people from the past, that kind of thing. So yeah, if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, I do recommend giving it a read. There were things that frustrated me that may not frustrate somebody else. All in all, this book is pretty well written. You know, I mean, I think that there's some little distinctions with grammar, and I think that that's basically kind of more of a regional thing. I actually don't know anything about the author, so I don't know where the author's from, but if I had to guess, I would guess that she's from England, because some of the grammar, some of the way things are phrased it doesn't feel very American. It doesn't feel very, but I could be wrong. I could be totally 100% wrong. And she's from here and she just writes this way because it's the way she wants the book to sound. So I have no idea. But there are a little bit of things that may make it a little bit harder to read if you're like me and from America and you are very used to a specific type of sentence structure and grammar, but who knows? Still well written, just a little different than what I normally read. And it has a good plot. Like, there's definitely a lot of stakes. There's a lot of, like, uncertainty about what the character's gonna do. Like, how is she gonna manage to solve all of these problems at the same time? Because there is a time crunch. So all in all, it's really well written and really good, and all of the elements of a good book are there. It's certain parts of the book itself that make me a little frustrated, and that has nothing to do with the way the book is written. So if you want to know the things that make me frustrated, you can continue watching this video, but they are going to be spoilers. So that's totally your choice. I'm going to go into spoilers now. So if anyone watching doesn't want any spoilers, I would definitely recommend stopping this video now. So if you're leaving the video now, thank you for watching, and we're going to get into spoilers right now. So one of the things that frustrated me about this book was the romantic aspect of the book. So the book is not romance, it's fantasy. Like, there's elements of all kinds of genres in every book, but it's mostly fantasy. So the romance part definitely comes in with the guy I mentioned on the back of the book, Samuel Appleby. However, the first romantic encounter we have in the book for Xanth, the main character, is a guy in the present day, which makes a lot more sense, called Liam. So Xanth and her mother Flora moved to Marlborough in England. Like, they used to live in London and then they had to move. Like, it's a whole long backstory that I'm not going to get into, because if you're interested, you can read it. But in the new town that they moved to, it's an old town but new to them, they meet someone who lives there, Liam, around Xanth's age, give or take a few years, who knows. And they hit it off, like, pretty much right away. And Xanth is a little bit hesitant. She recently had a very, very bad experience with her ex, and it even involved jail time, and it was very much a traumatic experience for her. So she was very much trying not to get involved with anybody else. And so when Liam comes along and introduces himself and is very nice, you know, she makes it clear, like, yes, she is interested in him, but she has her own personal things going on, so she needs to, like, hold off on that stuff. And he's a great guy, and he goes, of course I understand. And so he's still a friend and friendly. And so while she has to travel back to the past, because yes, there's a ghost that when Xanth and Flora acquire the object, the chatelaine, which, by the way, in case you don't know, because I had no idea what that is, it's literally like, think of it as like a key ring is, I guess, the most modern thing that's kind of like it, but it didn't hold keys. It held various objects that women in the 17th century and possibly earlier than that might use throughout the day. So like hanging from it could be like a little thing of perfume, or like a little needle and thread case, or, you know, anything that you might think of that you might need during the day. And it would hang like from a different kind of appendage, like from their skirt, their petticoat, whatever. And I guess they can be made of all kinds of metals. This particular one is silver that they get, and it's valuable not just because it's old, but because it's silver and it's like one of the higher quality metals, and clearly once possessed by someone of higher stature. And this particular piece, this particular object, I'm trying to figure out the right words to describe this, was attached to a person in the past where an injustice occurred, And the ghost in the house that Xanth lives in the present is like, my daughter experienced the injustice, and the woman that basically kind of caused the injustice, but not 100%, is the owner of the chatelaine. And so you need to go back and you need to save my daughter from being hanged, basically. She was hanged. And the ghost threatens Flora, and it says, trust me, I can control a lot of objects, like, on the physical plane, and I will hurt her if you don't go back in time and fix this and save my daughter. And so while Xanth goes back to the past, she goes to Liam and goes, please check in on my mother every now and then because she has arthritis and I'm worried about leaving her for a few days. By the way, Xanth lies to everyone and says that she's going to go visit her friend. And Liam's like, yeah, of course. And so he does. He calls her, like he goes to the store and physically checks up on her. Because the two women own an antique store. So he goes and checks up on her and everything. And meanwhile, Xanth goes to the past and falls in love with a man from the 17th century. And he's like obviously dead in the present day. And I'm like, this is just so frustrating to me because if the book had just been like, this is like 100% just a platonic thing with Liam, or it was an older person that she happened to become friends with that she had doing all this stuff for her in the present, I wouldn't have a problem with this. The reason I have a problem with this is because the book started out being like, Xanth and Liam have something between them, and Liam is an amazing person who's going to generously look out for her mother while she's out of town. In town, just in the past. And then all of a sudden Xanth goes back in time and falls in love with a guy from the 17th century. Like why? Why would you? It's very frustrating to me because it's one thing to go back in time and fall in love with someone in the past. It's another to basically lead someone on in the present and have them do things for you, favors, all these kinds of things, and you're essentially just leading them on because you're in love with someone from the past. Like that pisses me off. I'm sorry. I was getting so frustrated reading this book because at first it seemed like Xanth was just going to be friends with Samuel and Appleby because they were both into, the arts and architecture, and they had, certain values in common. And so it seemed like, oh wow, like even though we're centuries apart, like we still have a lot in common and we can work together in ways to, and I don't know, I just got really mad at that because it just felt unnecessary to bring Liam into this and make him this kind of, I don't know, it's almost like he's just being led on purpose. It's like the author created this character just to have him be led on and do favors for Xanth while she's in the past frolicking around and falling in love with a random architect from 1605. So that frustrated, it just really frustrated me. So that made it hard for me to keep reading for sure, because as soon as I saw a hint of romance going on between those two, I was like, oh, of course you're gonna do something stupid like this, because why bring Liam into this? First of all, Liam was a great person for Xanth to, start falling in love with, because she had something with him. It's not like it was just on Liam's side. It was definitely, Xanth felt something too. And now you're like, I'm just really upset by it. I read this book months ago and it's still upsetting me. So that was one of the things that bothered me. Another thing that bothered me is, and this is again a personal complaint, like maybe you'll disagree with me, who knows. I felt like it was too long. It felt like the book was too long. So much of what happened that Xanth was doing to try to save the woman's daughter from execution, basically, it just kind of felt like a lot of unnecessary things. Like, it kind of felt like it didn't really need to happen. You know, like, I think you could honestly cut out like an eighth of that part of the book and it would still make perfect sense and actually be slightly better. It's just that it felt too long, you know? Like, Xanth had to go back and forth through the present and the past so many times. And I'm just like, I don't know. It just kind of feels like this was dragged out. Like, I'm not saying it was a straightforward, she goes back and somehow proves that this girl is innocent of the crime that she's being accused of, because it turns out she isn't. She's not innocent. But she didn't take that on purpose. She was borrowing it, and then she got distracted and ended up, it was still on her anyway. And I just really feel like it could have been a lot shorter. I really feel like it was dragged out, and I'm not sure why. You know, it didn't really feel like every single piece of information that we gain through reading like the second half of the book is necessary. It kind of felt like I can make it this long, so I'm just gonna put in every single thing I think, you know? And I don't know if I really pin that on the author. I might pin that more on the editor, because that's really an editing thing, you know? When writers make the books, like, they put in everything they think is necessary, but an editor's job is to go through and be like, look, this is really great, but I think these are things we need to work on. And I guess I'm not sure what happened because I'm not there. But there, for me, was a little bit of a disconnect between how long the book should be and how long this adventure should be, because it just felt like it was way too long for me personally. You know, I liked the amount of time that they spent setting up during the present, you know, all the things that Xanth had to lose in the present. It was just the amount of time they spent in the past, to me, that felt way too long. Like, it really could have been cut down so much more. But those are really my big complaints. I don't really have anything else other than that. So that's why I'm like, I did still enjoy this book and I would still recommend it, but I definitely was reading it going, okay, I'm kind of frustrated by this romance thing, and I'm definitely feeling like I just kind of want to stop reading because it's getting way too long at this point and I'm kind of tired of it. And I didn't hate the ending. The ending is set up for sequels, and so there is a sequel after this book. Personally, I don't think I'll be reading it. As much as I enjoyed this book, this is just the way that this author writes and how this editor allows things to be printed, and I don't think I'll be reading it. It just frustrated me way too much, and there's way too many books out there that won't do that for me to spend any more time on it. So if you're interested in this kind of story, I do think it's a good read, because honestly, you may have a totally different opinion than me. Maybe you'll be like, no, it was kind of perfect for her to fall in love with Samuel because they have so much in common. Like, it just makes sense. So maybe you'll feel differently than me. I don't know. So that's why I think if you're interested in fantasy, and if, like me, you like antique stores, you like the whole, you know, objects that hold a past kind of thing, I think you'll like this book. I really, really do. And who knows, maybe you'll actually like the fact that it spends a lot of time in the past. Like, a lot. So who knows? But those are my thoughts. I do think that I would probably read this book again in the future, because maybe I'll have a different opinion on it by then. But I don't think I'll be moving forward through with the series. So, you know, it's kind of one of those mixed feelings ones, like I said at the beginning of the video. But anyway, that's really all I have to say about this book, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you watched, I have recently surpassed 300 subscribers, which is just absolutely wild to me. Like, I can't believe that many people are interested in my channel in any way. Like, my last video got like over 100 views, and I'm just like, this is like wild. I mean, I can't even express my appreciation enough. I love making videos about things I'm interested in, and I like that I can entertain people in any kind of way, you know? I'll always love making these videos. I have said in the past that I hope to make more frequently, and I do still hold that to be true. It's just there's so much changing in my life right now that it's kind of hard to make that kind of a change too, because that changes my filming schedule, like my recording schedule. So I hope to be doing that in the future. So stick with me and we'll see what happens from here. But thank you all so much for watching, subscribing, liking my videos, all of it. In any way that you interact with my videos means a lot to me. It really does. So thank you all so much, and I will see you next week.